Nevada County, it's your friendly neighborhood political correspondent. Here at Nevada County Media, I aim to educate and empower voters by interviewing local political leaders. My guest today is Gary Peterson, who serves on the Nevada City Council as the mayor. Hi, Mayor Peterson. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
So tell me, just as my first question, do you prefer spring? Do you prefer summer or fall?
Oh, I like the shoulder months, spring and fall, and certainly fall in Nevada County is a beautiful thing with the leaves changing and the shift in the weather out of the hot summer. And one of the things I really like, because you live in California, all these different climates, but we actually have 4 full seasons.
We do.
And so I get to experience the difference. So fall, definitely.
Yeah. Are you a pumpkin spice guy?
No, I'm not a pumpkin spice guy, but I do like pumpkins a lot. I bake a lot, so pumpkin's one of my favorites.
Cool, like pumpkin pie.
Yep, pumpkin bread, all that.
Great. So getting into our interview here, tell me a little bit about your background and what made you run for city council.
Well, I have over 50 years in local government. I started out fighting forest fires, and I ran airports for many years. And in fact, in the early 2000s, ran the Grass Valley or Nevada County Airport. I've done a lot of resource management around natural resource management with water. I was a public works director for the city of Salinas. And then I came back to Nevada City, where I've had a home for many years, just prior to the real intensity of the pandemic. And I noted at that time there were a lot of things going on in Nevada City that I thought needed attention. I had never really planned to be on a council or run for office, having spent 50 years on the other side of the dais. But I was reading the budget, and I realized that it just wasn't making sense. So I got involved because like so many, I care so much about our city that I thought I just needed to bring my skills to work on behalf of the community.
Okay, sounds great. And what year did you run?
I ran in 2020. I ran in a special election in November of 2020 after a former mayor had resigned.
Okay, and so I think you ran during COVID then.
I did run during COVID. COVID landed right during my campaign, and there was a lot of conflict in the community, and as there was everywhere, about how to deal with it, how to approach it. But there was some real disagreement between the council and the then city administration on how to approach it and what they wanted in terms of public safety.
Yeah. So how was it running during COVID? How would you get the word out about yourself?
Well, I'm an old guy, but I was an early adopter on technology, so I shifted a lot to technology and did a lot of website work, mailings, Zoom meetings. Did a lot of Zoom meetings and made myself available. I did do some door knocking with my masks on, but that became uncomfortable for everybody. Imagine a masked stranger showing up at your door asking you things. So I did a lot of mailing and a lot of online communication.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think everyone was online anyway, so that was probably perfect.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah. So since over the past 4 years or so, what are some hot button issues that you've addressed, and what are some of the hot button issues that we should be aware of now?
Well, it started with again with COVID and what I quickly found. I also was, while I was running for office, the August 9th, 2020 event occurred in downtown Nevada City, where protesters and counter-protesters violently clashed in front of City Hall. And I think the community felt that the response from the police department was not appropriate. It was, 3 people were arrested on felony battery. So clearly it was a violent moment, but it demonstrated a real difference between the philosophy of the city administration and the community. And in all my experience of working with cities and local government, I believe that one of the most important things we have to have in order to succeed is a city administration that's in alignment with the values of the community that it serves. Mm-hmm. So taking on policing was a big one. Councilmember Fernandez and I, after we were elected, we had a departure of the city manager, the city attorney, the chief of police, public works director, and the finance director all left the city around those differences. And we became very active in engaging the community about what is it we want from our police department. Should we even keep our police department? Because it's a very costly endeavor and it's unusual for a city of our size to have its own police department. On the other hand, it's had some version of that since 1855. So the community determined they wanted to keep the police department and wanted it to move to a very community policing model. And working, we had some strong interim folks, strong advisors that helped us get through that transition. We hired Sean Grayson, our city manager, and he hired Dan Foss, our chief of police, who's completely committed to community policing and has really turned that around. So that was a pretty big deal to do that. Always not so. These are not the really exciting things that people see, but we completely rebuilt the entire governance structure inside the city and the organization, including a new budget, a new capital improvement project. When I came in, it was difficult to tell where the money was and how it was being spent. We are now four years later. Most anyone can pick up the budget and see that very transparently, or ask a few questions and get some guidance. A budget should be a public document that can be consumed by the people that it serves. So we did a lot of that. New city attorney, we restructured and moved people up within the organization. So we did a lot of things that you really need to do, because even the smallest city, and Nevada City is certainly not the smallest, but 3,000 is a very small city, has the same complications of larger cities,
right,
just on a smaller scale. So we began to really take on that complexity, make sure that we're in compliance with rules, regulations. But 4 years later, we're standing here ready to do some really interesting work.
Oh yeah, that's great. So you mentioned that you got into city council wanting the values of the city council to align better with the community. How would you say that you have done that? How have you collected input from the community in order to make sure that connection happened?
Well, one of the things, I want to say that the citizens of Nevada City are really fortunate to have the great city council that they have. I'm the mayor, I was a council member, I'll go back to being a council member, we take turns, but we have a really great dynamic team, and we listen. We come from different parts of the community, different aspects of the community. I believe it's absolutely probably the most diverse council that Nevada City may have ever seen. But we listen, and we invite people to listen, and we ask, and we will convene meetings for the purpose of taking input from the community on any given topic. One of the things that we did that hadn't been done for the city is we built a really strong strategic plan for the city. And in it highlighted several areas of importance, and this plan was built with the community's input. It wasn't the council deciding what the community need us to work on. It was the community deciding what was important, and then we organized ourselves to do that work. So we have subcommittees on fire safety, which was number one. We have an infrastructure committee. We have a park and recreation committee. These are all staffed by council members active in that. We have the vibrancy committee that looks at arts, and in fact, out of that, we, for the first time, built an arts council in our city because art means so much to the community. But that kind of listening to the community about priorities that they value and then responding with work that supports and advances those concerns, we've done a lot of that. And it's really quite rewarding because we are there. I think one of the things that's sort of, we talk a lot about democracy today, but a city council is citizen democracy. You elect 5 of us, and we're up there to make decisions on your behalf. But the idea that between the 5 of us we could know everything and understand what everybody wanted is kind of a silly idea. So we talk a lot to people to figure out what the right direction is, what consensus really exists among the community. We really care about those things and trying to do what's right by the community. As an example, we have a nuisance ordinance tonight. I have some very strong feelings about it, but my feelings are not the feelings that matter. My My call is to make the best decision on behalf of the community, what the community needs. Not how I feel about it or how I think about it, but what we need to do in the best interest of our community. And I think we all carry that ethic.
Right. Well, that strategic plan that you mentioned, it sounds like you have 5 pretty dynamic sets of priorities, and I'm sure that gets people really showing up and serving on committees. But you mentioned the first one was fire safety. I know that you're on the Fire Safety Advisory Committee. Would you please talk a little bit about your involvement with that?
Sure. I co-chair that committee with Councilmember Lou Cece. Several years ago, then Mayor and Councilmember Aaron Minette saw the need to begin to organize our community around fire safety. We all know the threat, we've all seen what's been happening, and we need to prepare. We need to prepare knowing that it's not if fire is going to come, it's when fire is going to come. And we need to be ready for that, and we weren't. She began to organize the Fire Safety Advisory Committee, but she was doing it at a time where there was no support from the city administration, and it was a difficult challenge, and a lot of smart people worked really hard, but not a lot was happening. But then when we brought it into the strategic plan and made it a council initiative, I stepped in, and Councilmember Cece stepped in, and Councilmember Klein was also active in this. We began to look at what did we need to do in order to make our community fire safe, fire wise, and to think about not just getting through fire, but what would happen in the return, coming back, the resilience. So we went to work on that. We developed a community wildfire protection plan that aligns with the county's protection plan. We've built really strong relationships with our regional partners because fire doesn't care about city boundaries. Fire doesn't care about political boundaries.
It doesn't.
And the resources that we need are vast, and we're a small city. So partnering with the county, with the local fire districts, with CAL FIRE allows us to access that. So we've done a lot of work there. And then we put up a sales tax initiative with the wisdom of the citizens of Nevada City. And we did what's called a special tax. It's not just a 50% where you can take the money and really spend it on anything. We did a 2/3 vote where it required 66% of the vote to, by law, dedicate these funds to fire prevention and education. And our community came through at almost 70%, approving that so that we would have resources. One of the things that we know we need to do is to connect our neighborhoods with each other. We have a couple of really robust, what we call fire-wise communities, and these are communities and neighborhoods that come together and do planning and educate each other and connect with the larger system so they have resources to do projects in their neighborhood. They understand evacuation routes, and it's really just building out what we call social capital, where the strength of the neighborhoods support the people that live there, and you know who needs help, and you know who's struggling, and you know how to take care of each other. And we have a couple of neighborhoods very good at that, but we need more. So we required through California volunteers out of the Governor Newsom's office a $250,000 neighbor-to-neighbor grant. And that grant is to be used to connect our neighborhoods to each other around fire safety. So it's very exciting. As mayor, I absolutely support all of the work that we're doing on fire. We have a great team. We were able to hire employees. We now have a director of our own Office of Emergency Services. We're building up fuel management crews because a big part of what we have to do is fuel management. As a city, I think it was great that we took on Sugarloaf, and I think it's great that we took on Hirschman's Pond, but we also took on 400 acres of brush that had never been treated or managed. So now we need to work on that. So we're using the funding that we got from what Measure C, the tax measure, and we're putting together fuel crews who are out there working. We're doing education in our community, demonstration projects. We have an old house in Pioneer Park that we're going to build into an example of home hardening and how you do fuel protection around your house.
Wow, which house in Pioneer Park?
It's across from Siemens Lodge.
Oh, that house, okay.
And the city has just taken that back. It's going to become the headquarters for Park and Rec, but we're also going to use it as a demonstration project.
No kidding.
So we're working really hard on getting this done, and we have some great. This committee is comprised of citizens, and when you talk about the citizen engagement part, we have some bright, capable, concerned citizens who. What we do is we work through issues and then we advise the council, and the council makes those those decisions. So it's a great piece of work, really important. But I did declare the year of the neighborhood as the mayor. It's really important, I think, to connect our neighbors to each other. That's how we'll know. That's how we'll learn to take care of each other.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about this neighbor to neighbor grant that you guys got. So $250,000. How do you spend that doing neighborhood work?
Well, what we're starting to do, we've done several trainings now on home hardening. We've brought together community members on planning processes about how we should approach their neighborhoods. We've used that money. We've inspected every property in Nevada City for safety, and we did some automation on that. We're using technology to really keep those records and keep people informed. I know, it's a tricky one because people, private property is sacred, totally get that, but so is the safety of our community. So we're walking that balance. We're doing that with staffing, and like I said, a lot of education.
Okay. That sounds great. Going back to those other 5 priorities, or maybe beyond, are there some under the radar priorities or concerns? You mentioned the nuisance ordinance. Anything else that you'd like to shine some light on?
Well, housing. We really have to come to terms with housing. We really, need to think about the way our businesses are structured and the way we're sit geographically. Is how do we house our workforce, particularly a workforce that works in restaurants and in our boutiques and stores and stuff that don't make a lot of money but still need to live here. So that's going to become in the next 2 to 3 years. We're really going to get a grip on fire, but coming right behind that is housing. I like to say that one of the things that's not so under the radar, but we're building a whole new bridge, the Nevada Street Bridge across Deer Creek. That's a huge project for a city like ours.
Divert a creek.
Divert a whole creek. It's an amazing project, and so that's something we're very proud of, and it's starting to demonstrate how well we can execute on some really complex issues.
Yeah. So with housing, I know that you've built Cashin's Field a few years back, and I'm thinking it's full by now. Do you think there's another development that's coming down the pipe?
We need to look at that very closely. What we're looking at is the Seven Hills area. We would never, despite everybody's concerns, nobody's going to mess with historic downtown Nevada City. That's our brand. It's who we are. It's why people come here. But Seven Hills offers an enormous potential to build out another area. We're looking at it centered around arts and culture and wellness. And the city owns property in there that could be developed into housing. There's a lot of empty lots. So we're going to take a long, hard look at what to do in that area. In the meantime, I think you'll see in the next year or so, the city sort of looking at some of the city properties. We may be able to bring a few units of low-income housing online. Not nearly enough to address the full problem, but certainly something that could make a difference.
Get our workforce housed.
Yep.
Yeah. So, my next question was going to be some achievements and highlights to share. You've really, it sounds like you've really achieved a lot in office. So I think we've covered quite a bit of that. Is there another one that you'd like to share?
Well, I think a lot about our community. I think that, one of the reasons that people will tell you that they're in Nevada City because it's a real community. And that's really been true, and that's been my experience over the many, many years I've been in and out of Nevada City. However, like many communities, we've been really sort of battered and pushed around with the political division, with differences, with the pandemic, and it's been hard to keep it together. But I think in a real sense, it's who we are as Nevada City. So, the work that brings us all together, the neighborhood work is part of that. We're doing some work on the pro-Palestinian issues, having some real looking at conversations that we need to have in our community about how to address really topical, hot issues, that we build the capacity in our community to have the conversations. So it's not just about the differences that we share, but what we share in common, and that we come to that place of consensus so that we can start to then discuss the differences. So I care a lot about that, and we're working really hard as a council to do that. We've got 2 more years. We've got 2 years before there's another election, and I think this council is just in a great location to do some really interesting work. We've rebuilt the internal part of the city. Now we're working out. And we know we're starting to see the pushback in a number of areas. We can't move too fast for our community. We need to move in alignment with it. But there's really some important, challenging work to do, and it's going to take all of us to do it. So sort of underneath it all for me is how we come together to do our work.
Okay, yeah, and there are so many different kinds of people to bring together. What a cool thing to watch.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. So this show is all about engaging voters and empowering voters. How can voters learn more about you and your work, and how can they engage with you and be part of the voice that informs what's going on?
Well, we are running average 4 or 5 public meetings a month between council meetings, planning commission meetings, our vibrancy committee meetings, our downtown business meetings, our meetings with the chamber. So we are really out in the community, and people are welcome to come to all of those meetings and express their concerns, their cares. We're all available online. We do listen, despite what some folks think. We do care and we do pay attention. Got a great new website that's coming up, nevadacityca.gov. Okay. That's online and developing. We're doing a lot of work, I think, to make business easier for the community. We've put money in to offset the cost of business licenses, trying to increase businesses. So we are accessible, available via City Hall, via online, but certainly all of our meetings, everybody's welcome, and we would actually like to, it doesn't matter to me whether you agree with me or not, I'm happy that you came to participate.
Sounds good. All right, so lastly, getting personal here, what's something in your whole career that you're especially proud of?
Well, that's big because when you get old, your career's long.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think about that sometimes. I've been really fortunate. I produced with the water I did in Salinas, the work I did in water, and the California state passed the Groundwater Sustainability Act. And I produced the first groundwater sustainability plan in the state of California that was approved.
Wow.
And I did it with 750 stakeholders in over 100 public meetings in 2 years. And that's the kind of work I think we need to learn how to do. I did some fantastic work in the city of Salinas around governing for racial equity, aligning a community, a large government organization with the needs of its community. Those types of things have been, I've always volunteered, was very active with Special Olympics for many years. I've been a community guy my entire life. I was raised that way. So there are many that I'm proud of, but just every day getting up, looking out my backyard and seeing that I'm in Nevada City and I'm still doing good work and I'm in service of the community I love, that's a big deal for me.
It's a pretty special place too.
It is.
Yeah, thank
you.
It is. And if you'd like more information about the Nevada City City Council and Mayor Peterson's work in Nevada City, visit, as Mayor Peterson said, nevadacityca.gov. And if you have any feedback on this piece, please email me at ncnpolitics@gmail.com. It has been my privilege to be with you today. And remember, when it comes to politics, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Gary Peterson, and thanks for staying informed, Nevada County. I'll see you soon with another special guest.